Welcome back. In this video, you'll learn how to create an app called NBA Trivia. Now, this is a trivia game about NBA players, but you can use it as a template to build quizzes on any topic you choose. As you can see here, the user can answer the question by typing into the answer box, and the app will report whether or not the answer is correct. So let's take a quick preview of the app now. At the age of 18, he was the youngest player to be drafted number 1 by the NBA. Well, I think the answer is LeBron James. So let me go up here and type in LeBron James. Submit. That is correct. Now, if we typed in an incorrect answer, let me back up and take off the S and hit submit. We get an incorrect signal. We can also go to the next question, and so forth. So there are a total of 5 questions in this quiz. And at the end of the 5th question, it always takes you back to the question number 1. Now, if you don't know the answer at all, and you just want a hint, you can click the question mark. And that will display the actual answer down here, and you can type it in from there. So that's the quiz. Let's start building this app. Let's begin by connecting to the Codula website and creating a new project. And let's call the project Trivia. Clicking Next and Finish. Now let's go down and change the screen title to NBA Trivia Quiz. Next, let's upload the images we'll need for this project. First, let's bring in an image, and we'll set the picture property to LeBron James, which is the first picture in the quiz. Let's set the width to 420 pixels and scale to fit. Next, bring in a label, which is going to be the question. Let's set the text property to question. Set the width to fill parent, text alignment to center, and font size to 16, and font bold. Now, before I forget, let's rename these 2 components so they'll be easier to identify in the blocks editor. So I'm going to rename image 1 to player image. And I'm going to rename label 1 to question label. Now, in this next section, we're going to have space for 2 components arranged side by side. So I'll come over here to the layout category in general, and we'll pick something called a horizontal arrangement, and we'll drag that onto the screen. Then we'll set the width property to fill parent. Now, what this will allow us to do is to place multiple components inside of this space, and they will each be aligned horizontally next to each other. I'll also set the align horizontal property to center. So now I'll go back to the user interface and select a label and drag it into the horizontal arrangement. You can see that it's indented underneath of the horizontal arrangement. That means it's embedded inside of the horizontal arrangement component. Next, I'll find a text box, and I'll drag that until you see a little marker to the left of the text box, and I'll drop it. So now we have a label and a text box, both placed inside of the horizontal arrangement. So now let's set properties for the label. Let's set the font to bold, change the font size to 16, and set the text to the word answer. And for the text box, let's change the width to fill parent and change the hint property to please enter your answer. And let's also rename these components. Let's call this component answer prompt. And let's name this one answer text. Now let's bring in another label component, which will indicate whether the answer was correct or incorrect. So for this component, let's set the font size to 16 and set the width to fill parent. And let's set the text to correct/incorrect. And let's set the font to bold. And finally, let's rename this component to right wrong label. And for our final section on the form, we need another horizontal arrangement which will consist of 3 buttons: the Submit button, the Next button, and the Help button. So let's go back over to here and click on Layout, General, Horizontal Arrangement, and drag another horizontal arrangement onto the form. Let's set the width to fill parent. And now let's place 3 buttons inside of our horizontal arrangement. So we go back over to the user interface. We'll drag in 1 button, drag in the 2nd button, and the 3rd button. So here we have 3 buttons horizontally arranged on the same row. So let's set some properties for the buttons. The first button, we want to set the text property to Submit. And the second button, we want to set the text property to Next. And the third button, we'll set the text property to Help. Now we want to add some space between the Next button and the Help button to push it to the right. So we'll go back over here to the Layout, General, and there's a component called Space. And the whole purpose of that component is to add space to wherever we place it. So we're going to drag it in between the Next button and the Help button. So you can see we missed the mark there, so all we've got to do here is drag the Help button to the right. Now for the spacer component, we want to set the width to 100 pixels. And that will move the Help button to the far right. So now we want to rename our buttons. Let's rename the Submit button to, let's call it Answer button. We'll rename the Next button to Next button. And we'll rename the Help button to Help button. So that completes our design. So all that remains is to add some functionality to our app, which we'll take up in the next video. Thank you for watching.